I'll go ahead and get started here. My name's Sean. For anyone that doesn't know, you probably do because it's on your screen. But we are in the Czech Republic. I'm here with Product Fruits as one of the training managers. I see we have one other Czech person in here. But this is our second webinar. We're trying to cover different time zones since we have people all over the world. So this one we did a little bit earlier so that hopefully some of you guys would be able to join us. So like I said before, just to reiterate, we are recording this entire webinar. Should be about 30 minutes or so. We'll keep it pretty tight for you guys. Hopefully entertaining as well. I'll do my best to keep it interesting for everybody. If you do have any questions, you'll just use this Q&A that we've already tested. So you can do that during the presentation itself, or we can just do it at the end. I'll answer everything at the end, but if you just want to pay attention, you can wait for those questions at the end, or I'll come back and I'll look at everything here as well. So it's up to you guys. We're basically going to cover this in 3 phases. I'll go ahead and minimize this. You might see me moving some things around on my screen. It'll be invisible to you guys, but I've got some of the settings here. And we're going to cover this in 3 phases. It's basically going to be theory in the first, followed by a showcase, and then we're going to do a workflow to actually show how everything was built. So we're going to start here with just a few slides. We're going to do a quick slide. I'm not even a slide person myself, which is why I'm going to try to make this more interesting, just a little bit fun. This will be quick just so we can look over some of the basics of everything. On our agenda today, we're going to look at how to onboard users using Product Fruits. So that's obviously why you're here today, right? Like how to get people in, how to transition people smoothly and easily onto your website. And that starts with a few of the basics. The first being the second bullet point here, design before implementation. This is one of the biggest things we see. Feel free to take notes if that helps or if you need to as we go along. But a lot of people jump in and they just start building things without any idea of what they want to make or what they want to put on their website. So take a moment if you've ever done things, if you ever whiteboarded, if you've ever written things in a notebook, if you use mock-ups or other similar websites, create a design before you actually start putting something together so that you have a cohesive idea of what you're moving towards. That theme is going to come back a lot, that you have an idea of what you're doing before you start. We're going to be using a real onboarding example with our client Twigsee, or our partner in this case, since they're helping us out by letting us use their website. You'll see them here in a little bit. They're a demonstration in the second phase. What they do is they connect teachers and parents for nursery schools and kindergartens. So you'll see that as we go along. We'll reiterate that in a little bit. We'll be building our first tours and our first hints so you can see what they look like. I assume that we're at maybe a few different levels, but most people are either seeing Product Fruits for the first time, or maybe you've built a few tours, you've done a little bit, and are just wondering kind of what direction to go, how to structure things. That's what we're going to look at with our tour and with our hint today. And then, like I said before, if you have any questions and answers, you can put that in at the bottom of Zoom, and we'll definitely get those by the end. We won't go through them as we're going through the meeting, but we will go through everything once we're finished. So why are we here? We've found that there are typically a handful of reasons that are common to everyone. And we have these set up as a poll for us here. You'll see as it comes up. Why are you here? You can go ahead and start answering these now, or as I talk about them, you can wait to hear them. We have increasing conversions, which is a big one. That's obviously something everybody wants to do. Maybe someone has touched the website once, they never came back. Because if someone comes in and you never see them again, you've probably got 80-90% chance that's it. That's one of the big things that Product Fruits does for us. We have improving retention, which is another one. Like maybe they have come in, but then they left and you never saw them again. That's another way that can happen. Reducing support ticket volume. I'm glad to see that one building a little bit on here too, because that's is what I think of as like the invisible killer. A lot of companies don't realize how much time their employees are using on support tickets and just helping people out. That can be reduced dramatically by using a software like Product Fruits, which again, we'll see soon. And then increasing feature penetration. How much are they actually using the product itself? How far is it going into the app? And it looks like we've got a pretty even spread here because we've got all of the above at the bottom just for everything. Which I like to see. That's good that we all have different reasons for being here, and that we're going to hit all these as we go along. I'll go ahead and stop this now because it looks like we have our responses. I'll share it with you guys just so we can see everything. I didn't realize you couldn't see those, or maybe you did and it just stopped. So we'll go ahead and close this out. And Where are we going to start? We have a lot of different features, right? You know, many products are feature rich. We definitely have a lot that you can get into. We have product tips, product tours. We have tool tips, which are like hints, which we'll definitely see. We'll see hints come up, announcements, help center, checklists. There's so many things to go over. So it's actually a trick question. I fooled you guys with a cheap trick. I know that's a common thing that people do, but I did it here. We start with asking the right questions. That's the beginning of where you need to go. This goes back to this theme of where are we beginning and why are we doing the things that we do. The top bullet point here, why is the customer using my product? If you don't know the answer to that, you don't know what to build effectively. You don't know how to design and how to move the product that you're using towards something that works with product fruits, which is related to the second one. What is our standout feature? What is this for you? I saw we had people all over the world, different countries. You all have different products. What is your standout feature that is setting you apart from other people? Product Fruits is designed to highlight and to emphasize the thing that you have made that you want to show to your users and to your customers. That's also related to number 3. When do your users experience the aha moment? When are they making that connection? When do they understand what the value is of what you bring to the table? When do they understand why it's important for them or why they need your product? These are the things you'll be emphasizing whenever you use Product Fruits on your website. And then finally, how do we measure success? If you don't know what success is in your mind, then how do you build something that focuses and pushes you towards success in your case with your company? Quotes are super cheesy, and I've always hated when people use them in presentations. So, of course, I added one as well for myself because apparently it's just a rule that happens when you make these. But no wind blows in favor of a ship without direction. That is basically a perfect analogy for what we're looking at here. If you don't know what you're trying to build with Product Fruits, it doesn't matter the conditions of the market. It doesn't matter the environment you're in. It's not going to help you if you don't know what you're doing with it. So as we move forward, we're going to take a quick look at our cheat sheet. You may have seen in the email, we're going to send this to you afterwards in an email. So you're going to get this. I put this slide here just to remind myself to take a look at it real quick. I'll open it up over here. And there's a lot of information here. You'll be able to look at all the details later on because we're sending this to you. But we are going to focus on these 2 columns right here in the center. So we've set this up just to be very readable, your problem on the left and our solution on the right. So we have 4 things, 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll scroll down. Number 1, I want users to understand the value of our products immediately. That's a problem that a lot of people have. We have welcome tours. And again, we're going to see this in just a minute. Keep this structure in mind because we're going to come back to this and you're going to see this exact thing whenever we look at Twigsy. We start with a welcome tour to ease people in. After that, number 2, I need to show users information about our product features. We have hints or tooltips for that. Like we saw from earlier, we saw the screen, we have tooltips, we have hints. This works in harmony with the welcome tour. Those are guiding people around, but a hint is optional for the user. That's a real big key word there. A hint gives the user the option to look at more information, which we'll see as we move along. Number 3, our users aren't aware of where to find information, how to send feedback, how to communicate with us. We have a help center, or we call it the life ring at Product Fruits. If you have used Product Fruits already, you may recall that little icon in the bottom. I don't know if it's on this side or this side of your screen, but it's on the right corner in the bottom, which is called the life ring button, and it acts as a help center for links, for articles, for anything you want to show your user. And finally, I need to explain to users how to use our product. This is what we have feature tours for, actually showing the features of your product. This is where you can specify and customize for what you have in order to show your user what you're all about. Notice, this is the important part. Notice this is at the end of the 4 features, of the 4 things that we have here. We did not come in and throw all of our features at them at the beginning. That is a big mistake we see a lot of people make. Here's all of our features, and it is too much, way too fast for the user. What we have instead done, we ease them in, starting with that welcome tour, moving into hints that we've given them that they can use if they want to, a help center as a base if they need it, and then we show them the feature tour. So again, keep this structure in mind because you're about to see it as we switch over to Twigsy. We'll go back over to our slide. This will be the last one we're looking at before we switch. Twigsee, like I said before, is the company that we're working with today. They connect parents and teachers. They digitize the schoolwork that we mentioned before, so kindergartens and nurseries, and they centralize all that information in one spot. So no more paperwork, no more filing cabinets, no more having physical things in the world that can be lost or manipulated. We're doing everything digitally. It's all online. I'm going to back out of our presentation here, and we're going to flip over to the Twigsee homepage. So here is what that page looks like. You can see it's a nice looking web page. Manage your nursery with a single application, very modern look. We have good feedback visually from everything. What we're going to do is pretend like we're a teacher. Because like I said, there are parents and there are teachers. Both of them are using the website. So what you're about to see is used by both of these parties. For this sake, we're going to pretend like we're teachers. So let's click this login button and pretend like we're going in. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. Here is the login page. Looks a little different. There's a lot of information here, a lot of things going on. I counted this earlier, but just this box right here in the center, you can see me highlighting back and forth in the middle of the screen. Just these columns and these rows have about 40 items, about 40 pieces of information. We have a menu on the left. It's probably 15, 20 more items. There's a banner at the top. There's another box at the bottom. It's a lot of info. And this is not necessarily, this isn't a bad thing. Twigsee needs to communicate this information. I know we're all new to them, so we're just learning who Twigsee is, but they've got to communicate medications for their kids. They post photos of activities. They have schedules. They have exception rules. There's tons of information that they offer, and it's necessary, important information, but it's a lot to just throw on someone with no context or no warning. So here it is with product fruits. This is what the website looks like now with a product fruits overlay. And I can guarantee you that as soon as I switched this page, your eyes were drawn immediately to the center of the page. They came straight into this spotlight right in the center. We've taken a lot of this visual noise in the back. We've darkened that out, and we've drawn our user in to welcome to Twigsee. Where have we seen this before? We can make this connection, I'm sure. Welcome to Twigsee. This is our welcome tour. We're welcoming someone in with a simple, straightforward, succinct tour, digitize and improve the work, connect parents and teachers, keywords being used, simple, quick. As we go to the next card, you can see we've got 2 out of 3 in the bottom. We'll lead them into a video, very simple embed. This is all things you can do with product fruits as you go along. And obviously, we're not going to watch this now, but we're focusing the user. We're keeping them tied in. And on our last card, we've just got a fun little GIF and a call to action. This is a big one too. The user isn't thinking about any of this. You're creating design that is simple and intuitive. As we click here, you can see this is a link that I've embedded. It actually leads to Product Fruits implementation workshop. So obviously this is not Twigsee, just showing you what you can do. Once you actually have built something, this is something you can book with us just for future reference. We have, this is very similar to our demo calls, what we're doing now. We're going through a demo of everything, but once you have built something, implementation workshop is the next thing to do. And we're going to follow up with links on how you can do those yourself as well. And we give you feedback for what your tour looks like after you've built it and our personal advice for everything. So once we finish, now we're letting them into the website. We have our finish button down here. Now we're into the app, and notice it looks very similar, but we've got some big differences here. There's, you can probably see in the top left and in the bottom right, we have 2 more Product Fruits instances that I'm going back and forth between. Obviously, or maybe not, this one in the top is going to be our hints. Here we are again on our cheat sheet. Let's look at that again. Hints or tooltips. Now we're giving the user the option to go through content. Some people occasionally will, we often say hints are as good as or maybe even better than tours. Because again, if I refresh this page, like I said, there's no option whenever this tour picks up. We do have a skip button, which we'll come back to. They can skip through this, but we're taking them through a tunnel, which is good for certain situations. In others, you may just want to give them the option to use these pop-ups and have unique information for each one. We have another link here, for example. You can do the same things that you saw before. This link leads to their knowledge base, the Twigsee knowledge base. So we give that route if they want it. And that's somewhat similar to the Help Center or the Life Ring button. I'm going to move my own camera real quick. The Help Center down in the bottom right, you can see we've added more information. This one is quite simple. Again, just for the presentation, don't want to make it too complicated. I have put the tour that you can take again, so we can start this again if we want to. That's an option for the user. The Help Center has the video that they can replay if they want to do that, as well as a link. I have one that just says questions. I think that leads back to our implementation workshop. I did that same one there, which you guys can use in the future. But now we have a central hub. If hints can be placed anywhere, this is our centralized point of contact if anything is ever needed. You'll notice we have a chat, we have a feedback. We're not going to go as much over the feedback today. This is another widget that we'll save for the future. But today, that is something you can do. And the last thing, now that we're done, what is next? As we look at our cheat sheet, our last thing after the life ring is that feature tour. Let's go ahead. I already know where this is because I've set this up. You can design it however you want. But notice I don't blast the user with a feature tour right off the bat. Again, I've actually put it over here in another hint. This is something they can pick up. We have links to different things, how to download a photo for a parent, individual attendance, a few different links. This all goes to their knowledge base. But right here, click here to start feature tour. Here is my feature tour that I built. As we click, it takes us into, we call this a modal dialog. And you can see now we have some more complex information, a little bit more than we were showing them before. We have benefits for parents and benefits for teachers. We've split that up for both. This is another quick side note, kind of like the chat. We also have segmentation where you can separate content. And in this case, I've done both just so you can see both for the presentation. But you can say, this is one version of Product Fruits for teachers, and then you can build a separate version for parents, and you can separate them out. We're not going to go super deep into that, but that's just to let you guys know that's possible. You can select what users you want to see what things. As we continue through the tour, this turns into a highlight tour. The first card you just saw was a modal dialog. That's the first of two major cards that we use. The second is a highlight card. Now it is highlighting the search bar. Here's where you can search for students enrolled in your class. Next, now we see there's archive content. You can use this to check archive content. Next, this is our last card. We're keeping it short, just 4 cards. If you ever want data to export, we've highlighted the export button. Now they've been given some features, and now they are let into the website. So here they are. That ends the 4 major features from the cheat sheet that we're going to see today. But the big question becomes, how do we build this? How do we actually make this happen? We've seen it in action, and it actually starts with our administration page. We're going to flip over here to, if you have a Product Fruits account, you'll be familiar with this. And we're actually going to pull up one more poll real quick. So we're going to pull up this poll. I'm going to back out of this page as I go through. So we'll see when that poll comes up. I'll wait for it. But as we go along, I'll show you this is what it will look like as you log in. As you come to the sign-in screen, and you're going to get the page that we just saw, because I'm taking it from the beginning. These are our workspaces here in the middle. So obviously you can see I've got a couple things related to Twigsee. I do a few things I test in as well. But once we go into the Twigsee webinar, you'll see that it opens up at the top. Tours, hints, announcements. We've got a few of our features, knowledge base, and then widgets creates a dropdown. And of these 3, you see you've got checklist, feedback, and life ring. So what are we looking at today? We are looking at tours. We're looking at hints because we've already seen those. And we're looking at the life ring button. So we're not going to cover a few of these features. There's only so much we can fit into our first webinar here. We're going to cover these because these are some of the things you definitely use the most often are these 3. So how do we build that? It's a very simple extension that you build into your browser. And I'm not even going to use, I actually have Product Fruits extension right here. I'll actually show you manually how easy this is to do. Chrome Web Store. I'm not going to use my hotkeys or anything. You go to the Chrome Web Store like you would do for anything else. You'll go to that search bar that's up in the top left. We'll type in Product Fruits. Some of you, I'm sure, have done this already. And once it loads, you can see right here, we've got Product Fruits Editor. There it is at the top. It is that simple. You install it using the extension, and it goes to this puzzle piece up in the top right. You can see I've got a few different extensions. This is my Product Fruits Editor. There is one JavaScript snippet that your coders will implement. It's very simple, but they take a copy paste and they put it into your code, and then Product Fruits will activate using this extension. So now that we have this extension, where do we go? Let's take a look back over on this screen. This was our intro screen. We have the live tour here. This is what we've already looked at. Here's that basic page. And what we can do is go back to that puzzle piece. We'll open up Product Fruits Editor. it'll show us in the extension in the top right, there's Twigsy webinar and in the correct workspace and the button edit. And that's it. You press that button, it'll open up for us and we can choose which tour we have. You can see Twigsy dashboard and then school register. That's this right here, school register, that feature tour. That's why I put it in parentheses. Naming is very important, which we'll come back to in a minute. But since we're on the dashboard, you can see right up here, dashboard. That's why I remember that at the top of the browser in the URL. We'll start editing. And here is our first welcome card. Now you're seeing the same card we saw on the live page. Here's live page. Here is that editor, the exact same thing. And there's a number of things we can do here. We're going to look at how to build these tours in a second. I'll show you on the feature tour how the actual tours are built, but I'll show you some of the editing properties. Like let's say we're walking through these three cards as our video. I can click between the three here at the bottom. Let's say I don't like the skip button. I don't like that they can come in here and my user can just skip and they don't see my cards. I don't like that. I want them to have it. So let's refresh this page. We'll have this come up. It is very simple to edit things with our editor. Under card layout, you'll see we have a few different sections over here. I'll actually collapse these. You can see we have 5 sections. Card layout is where the skip button can be turned off. So you can see as soon as I toggle that, that skip button right here disappears. As I move to the second page, same thing, go to card layout. We'll turn off the skip button. And on our last one, I'll leave it for the last one. I don't care about that card. But our skip buttons are now gone on the first and second. And I'll save that here in the bottom right. This is our save button. This save button does not make it live. Live is the push changes button, and we separate these two things so that you have the option to save inside your editor, but you can launch it to the live page whenever you're ready. So I can see my changes here, but it is not until I push, I'll click that now, just clicked the push button in the bottom right. We'll come back to the top. We can see our skip button here. Let's go ahead and refresh one more time. There it is, it's gone. It is that easy to update and to change things inside your tour. Let's say maybe I don't like the word finish at the end. We come back to this card. I can just click on my third card. You can double click inside the button. We'll back outside. We'll back out of that word and just say close. We'll do that instead. We'll come down. We'll say save. It's not live yet, so we'll push it. So now it's live after I've pushed. I'll refresh one more time. Our skip button is still gone. They go next. They go next. There's the close button now. And this format, like I said, it's a little more restrictive. So it depends on what you want to do. What experience do you want for your users? Do you want to have that skip button gone, or do you want to have it available in case you need it? In this case, I need it because I'm going to be using it more for you guys. I'm going to go back to card 2. I'll turn this on. I'll go back to card 1. I'll go to card layout. I'll turn it on. I'll save again, so it's saved in the editor. I'll push again, so it's back to the live page. Because I'm going to refresh this a few times. I'm going to show it to you more than once. I'd like to skip just so I can go through and start showing you other parts of the tour. So next is hints. We have our hints over here, and just like the tour, we'll come back to this. Well, if we're looking at the tour, how do we get to hints? Hints are going to be down here along with other tours in the bottom left. It brings back this page, this pop-up that we saw at the beginning, and you can see there's a difference. We have tours on one. We've got that feature tour in the dashboard, and then I have 2 different parts of the hints. You can kind of work it out. Again, I've named this dashboard, so I know it's here. And my other hint is feature tour, which if you remember, I had that feature tour hint that allowed you to launch the feature tour, which we'll come back to in a moment. So let's do the dashboard one. If we open up the dashboard, we don't see them because it gives you individual control at the bottom of the screen. As you go back and forth, you can see I'm doing all 3 hint buttons. The icons are a little big. I did that on purpose. You can see here on the right, there's icon size. And I can make it really, really small, or I can make it much bigger. I figured some people are probably viewing this on mobile, or maybe they're watching on different screen sizes. So this is just to make it visible for you guys. Let's say we want to add another hint. This is similar to how you'll add tours. So you'll see this in a minute. But this little plus button in the bottom allows us to choose a tooltip or a flashing beacon. I'm going to choose another tooltip here. And if you notice, if anyone here is familiar with CSS, that is the code that we attach our features to. You don't need to know CSS, but it might help your developers if they know that's the language it works with. Because if you have a CSS selector somewhere, that is how we can pick things. You can see these highlights. So we did the top 3. We did dashboard, children, school register. I'm going to choose finance. That's my next one. It's highlighted over here on the left. I'll click this. And now there's my button. There's a few things I don't like. It's not like these where it looks nice and formatted. Product Fruits allows you to adjust whatever you need to fit your website as much as possible. So the first thing I'll do is make it big. Now we've got that same size that we had back here on school register. And then you can see there's this option, offset from element. This is a draggable meter that you can make go back and forth for the hint icon far, like from or towards finance. If I drag it all the way to the center, that might not be enough. Yeah, that's not close enough. So we can actually go into the input box and start doing custom information. It's at 20 pixels. We measure this in pixels. Negative is going to take it to the left. So let's say 200. Well, that's too far. I don't like 200. That's way too far over. Let's do maybe 150. See how that looks? That's close. Let's do 130. There we go. That looks good. It's that simple. I'll tab out of this and I'll save. And let's say we actually want to add something. If you go in and you want to edit something, you click in and it gives you a menu. Let's say we want to add a piece of media. I just want to do, this is finances. Let's look up, let's go to Google. I'll show you how easy this is. Let's type in finances. I'll hit enter. So this is a real example of what you will actually do if you're building these things in the real world. Doesn't matter what we pick. Let's do dustpan with money. I'll shoot. I don't know why this is on here or what this is supposed to be, but let's save this image. And we'll put it into our computer. Let's just say money. I have a money already. Let's do finances. Let's do that. And I'll go ahead and save my finances. There it goes at the bottom. It's a JPEG. Let's go back over to our tour, to our edit page, and we'll click media. Now we have this image option because I just downloaded the finances. There it is at the top of my downloads. I'll open, and there we go. It's in the editor. How long did that take? That took probably, I would say maybe a minute, definitely less than 2 minutes. It's not here yet on the live page because I have not pushed it. Our icon's not here. Let's push. We'll close this. We've pushed to the live page. We'll refresh. Our tour is going to pop up, but that's why I gave us the skip button so I can skip out. There's that button right here. We now have this. The image is already there. We're already going and we're solid. We're good to go. So I don't want that there though for the rest of this. So we've created a very convenient remove button up here at the top. I'm going to click that trash can in the top right. It's gone. It is not saved until I save it. And it is not pushed in the bottom right until I push it. Now those changes have been made. Lastly, or the last thing before the feature tour is this life ring. How do we look at this and get to this? This is actually, oh, hang on. I've got a little bit of echo. There we go. Okay, sorry, I had a little bit of feedback. This is our life ring button in the bottom right. This is done on the administration page. We're back over here now. If you have something with a widget or with more management, you'll do that here from the administration page. So let's go to the top. We've got widgets, and we have checklist, feedback, life ring button. As soon as we hit this, we're going to see the exact same features that we saw before here on the right side of the screen. So there, that looks familiar, right? The exact same content that we have from the live page. Let's go in and actually take a look at a couple things. We're not going to spend too much time here. But notice we've got an icon here, and maybe I don't like the fact that it says Help Center with buttons. I want that to be a little cleaner of a look. We can come up here, Launcher Button Text. You can see as I update and I tab out of this, there, this icon is now just the life ring. I can save, I can go back to the live page, and I can refresh. Now we're looking at the life ring button with no text. And one important thing to note here is look at this setup. Look at what I'm doing. I have administration page, tab 1 in the top left. I have editor, tab 2, where I can edit my content. And then I have live page, number 3, where I can see my live feedback. This is the recommended setup from Product Fruits. This is our typical workflow. As you can see, as I go through each one, administration, editor, live page, that is the setup we typically recommend because it is easy to hop from one to another with those tabs at the top of the page. But let's say I did want to add like content, change something. There's this link over here, questions. Maybe I can say something like, click here to learn more. And I like that, period. And we can click save. Now that's going to be on our live page as well. Everything is this simple. It is a very quick workflow to pick up. Obviously, there are many features, so it takes some time to familiarize, but that is how easy it can be thrown into the website. So lastly, as we go to that feature tour, let's hop over to that one as the last part of our phase here. If we go to school register, let's look at it live one more time, just to remind ourselves of how this worked. We'll go very quickly. It's hidden inside this hint. And whenever we open that hint, it'll give us the option for the tour. The tour will start with modal dialog, and then it goes highlights, highlights, highlights. And you know what? Just for fun, let's actually show you guys how to build this. So quickly I'm going to refer to our Q&A. We might have some questions. We do have some questions. Let's just, so I don't forget, this is something that you can do in any context. I'll just open a notes tab here. And just so I remember what order I have, let's look on our editor dashboard. Actually, let's look at the feature tour. We go to tours here. There's that school register feature tour. So I'm going to do it just for this. You can see I did my feature tour here. This is just like the opening screen. This one is called search. This one is called archive. And this one is called export. So actually, I won't write anything down. We can do this. That's easy enough to remember. So I'm going to delete this just to show you how this works. We'll take this out. We'll delete this one. That was our export. Here's our archive. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete our search. I'm going to save. I'm going to push. This no longer exists on the live page because let's refresh this so it updates. This is no longer here. The link to start it will be, and it should just be our modal dialog. So let me open this up. Here's our modal dialog. That's all we have. And it ends. No more highlights. So I'm sure some of you are curious, how do you actually build these things? Well, that modal dialog is here in the bottom with a plus sign. We click this plus. Modal dialog is one. That's what we have. Highlight element is the other. So let's do exactly what we did before. Let's start with that search. We can highlight this here. We'll move. This is a button that will allow you to switch sides on the editor. I'll do this slowly. Click that in the top if you need to get more visibility. We'll say, click here to search for student names. That's fine. Very simple. That one's done. Let's save that and we'll continue. We'll do number 2. Let's do another highlight element. I'm going to put it on archive like we had before. Let's do that box. Here's the archive. Check. Let's do what should we say here? Check your archived content here. And then step 3, let's save again just to keep our progress. Step 3, we'll do another highlight because that's what we had. Export. Export. What can we say? Export. Here you can export files. That's fine. Doesn't need to be anything super complicated for this explanation, but we'll push again. And now you will see as we come back, it has all been updated. Again, we built that, I would say, in less than 2 minutes. It's back here. Click to start the feature tour. Our highlights have immediately come back, and everything is working just like it was before. So like I said earlier in the presentation, you're saving time on support tickets. You are increasing conversion. You are retaining your users better. You can definitely see here why that's important and how it helps focus your users and draw them in. So at this point, as I think we've got a bit about half an hour, we're going to take a look at some of the questions here. And let me go ahead and open. Oh, actually, you know what? One last thing. I promise. Down here, notice it wasn't renamed. You can actually double click into these buttons and rename search. You can name archive, and you can name export. So that is just so you know, these are all things you have full control over. Save, push, just like before. Let's take a look at some of those questions. And might have made a mistake in putting all the, oh no, good. Someone answered the countries for me, so they're not all through everything. So we have a few different things. Aisling says she has a question about checklists. So our mics are actually muted because we have so many people. We'll go ahead and, Aisling, if you just want to write the question at the bottom, that will be fine. And I'll come back and look at it. So we'll come back to that and we'll look at checklists, sorry. So we'll start here. And yeah, Aisling, put your question at the bottom and I'll answer that for sure. Are pop-ups permanent? Depends on which pop-ups you're referring to, if you're talking about hints or tours. Regardless, the answer is no, they are not permanent. You can adjust anything you like. There are things like announcements, which are similar. We didn't go over that today, but those can be given more permanence, but it's all within your control. You can schedule, you can take things on and off. I'm sure this was asked about 20 minutes ago, so it was before we saw the editor, so I'm sure some of those questions were answered as we went along. But yeah, you can choose what comes on, what goes off, what you save, and what is on your account, and what is published to the live version of the website. Next question, can you also embed live stream functionality in a navigation bar or a navigation bar, I guess is what they're saying. Yes, you can do this. It is a little more complicated. The life ring is natively built in to work the way that I showed you. But we have an API for the life ring button that you can use. I can show you right here. If you go to our knowledge base, which keep this in mind, this is very helpful, help.productfruits.com, and this is the English version of the website. If you go right here and you type in API, we'll probably find it. JavaScript API overview is right here. I believe there's a subsection on life ring. There it is. Sorry, I'm moving boxes around on my screen too because I have a lot of pop-ups that you guys probably can't see. You can see we have API methods that you can use to actually embed and build into the website. So this will help you out for that. Ultimately, the answer is yes, but there's a little more specificity. What is our next one? Yeah, I said embed life ring. The next question is, can I pre-populate forms as part of the tour? Yes, if you're just talking about forms, do you mean the tours or maybe something else? You can also add to this question at the bottom. But ultimately, yeah, forms can have, you're probably talking about where things are already written in when people answer. If that's the case, yes, there are ways to do that. There's a number of different methods depending on exactly what you want to do. But again, your answer is going to be yes. We won't go into that one because that'll take up a lot of time right now, but it is possible. Is there any support for staging, or can we roll out a test environment before testing on the client environment? This is a big question. This one happens a lot because if we go back over here, we were in the Twigsee webinar workspace that we saw at the very beginning before I logged in. If you click our logo in the top, you'll see all these workspaces from before. This is where people separate testing, staging, client, production, whatever your names are for it. This is where you'll do that. So you can have separate environments here to where, in this case, I'm going to Twigsee webinar right here at the bottom. This is where all my Twigsee tours and announcements and hints are. But you can name this testing environment, staging environment, production. You can see Product Fruits production. I've done testing there myself. So yes, absolutely, you would separate these here. And then another common question, I'm going to follow that up even though it wasn't asked. Another common question is, well, how do I get content over? Our tours are built to either clone in this little drop-down menu. Again, I went to tours and I went to this bubble of 3 dots. And we've got copy to another workspace if you want to switch it over, or clone same workspace. So you can do either one there. Our next question that we have inside the chat, so there was staging on the last one, need to make sure it's positioned correctly for different languages. I'm not sure what positioning means in this case, but I assume this is largely just a language-related question. You, of course, can do different languages, but it needs to be passed to us per user. You do set it up in the code under the settings. So I'm going into my workspace now. I went to settings in the top right, and you can see on this workspace, I just have English. I believe there's more than one inside of my new extension workspace. If I go back to the top and I open that settings tab one more time, you'll see this one, because we are in the Czech Republic. I have both English, our spoken language at the office, and we also have CS for Czech here at the side. So the way it works in Product Fruits is you pass us our user, you tell us what language they are, and we will plug the language for whatever they're using. So let me go to the next. The last question we have is, what is the impact of speed and performance using Product Fruits? The word, I know we have a lot of people from all over the world, so I assume a lot of second language English speakers. So the word of the day is negligible, which basically means, if you don't know what that word means, it means really no impact, little to no impact whatsoever. I've seen Product Fruits across many different websites. And again, this is a live Twigsee that you're looking at. These pop-ups that you're seeing are happening in action. This is pinging the server and coming back to the front end all in this amount of time, 0 delay. So maybe there's technically one, I don't know, but it's not noticeable by any users. I have never seen any sort of support question or any problems from any of our clients about speed and time. So that looks like about what we have in our questions. Let's see if there's anything else. Okay, a few more. So Charlotte was clarifying on tooltips, and her first question was, need to make sure it's positioned correctly for different languages. Can they disappear when the user has interacted with them? Yes. So this is another very easy one to show. So I am on the register side. Let's go over to that dashboard one more time. I'll close this out and go to the dashboard. Here is the hint in the top left. We'll wait for that to come up. We'll switch over to hints here and go to the dashboard because that's the page that we're on. And I'll pull this up. There's an option inside the hints under its advanced settings, I believe, at the bottom. Let me move my card. And sorry, there it is. It's under icon visibility right here, until viewed. That's what you would do. So in this case, if we preview, let's do it one more time. I did that on one of these 3 hints. I think it was this one. Here's the hint. A typical hint will come back and forth and won't leave. We click now because we did until viewed. There it is. And was it this one? There it is. Now it's gone. It was school register that I put it on. So now it's disappeared. That's an option we provide, again, just for utility or for customization, whatever you would like to do in the hint. And then our last question so far, is it possible to connect the tour to variable non-exact URLs? So he says the projects are growing in numbers and in different URLs, not user specific. So yes, again, generally the way it's designed is that a tour will reset if you leave the page. That's how it shows over and over. So generally the best practice is if you're going to a new URL like this, you create a new URL. I didn't mention this during the presentation, but here is dashboard right here under the URL template. You'll see if I go to school register, which is our other page, I'll close this real quick. We go to school register in the editor, and now it says register child/list, and that changes the registered URL template at the top. If we move up here and we go to school register feature tour, and I start editing, once this loads, you'll see that the URL template, it looks like this is having a second not loading, but you'll see this once it actually comes up. It will say URL template. There it is up in the top. This now says register child/list. So whichever URL you want to use it on. And even if this is changing, if you have different, it's another common question. A lot of people have what are called dynamic URLs. So the end of the URL is changing over and over. We have something, I'll show you how it would work here. You can see that pop up. It's a little small, but it says dynamic. If I back out of list at the end and I do bracket, dynamic, close bracket, that will work the same way. So anything after register child will work on this page. So any URL will work. So that looks like it wraps up. Oh no, I keep doing this. I keep not scrolling down. And we do have one more poll. I don't think it popped up earlier, but at any point that can come up and we'll take that as well. We'll see and get some final feedback from you guys. But we did have that follow-up from Aisling. Let me look at the beginning. Here's our poll. Let's do that real quick and I'll read some of these questions. So which of the features, now that you've looked at these, now that you've seen the presentation, now what do you think would be the most useful thing for your website? What would be best for you seeing all these things in action or as applicable to what you have? I'll let that go for a second. We'll give that 1 second for just a minute, and then I'm going to read some of these questions too. So, more all of the above than before. That's interesting. Both all of the above and feature tours are what we have coming in. So that's great. I'm glad that it looks like there's a little bit of a shift there, especially seeing the value of some of the features that we showed. We've got a few more questions. I am going to answer these. I'll go through these questions. Since we are at 45 minutes, which was our scheduled time, just in case anybody does need to leave at this point, you obviously don't have to stay, but so everybody is on the same page. At this point, if you have not started with the trial that we have a 14-day trial, go ahead and sign up and start building. If you've never seen Product Fruits, that is your next step. Go ahead and start working with us. If you have built something, book that implementation workshop that we showed before. That's easy to find on the website. Actually, if you do need it, you can look it up, but if you do need it, just go to Product Fruits. In our chat, our live link button will be able to help you out and give you an implementation workshop. I'll just show you real quick. If I type in Product Fruits, very, very easy. Once the page loads, you don't even have to be signed in. Our live ring button will load here at the bottom. You can type right here, hey, can I please, I did it before. I did this with our, this is the same conversation. that I had from the first webinar. Hey, I'd like to book an implementation workshop. Sure, Rob sent it to me immediately, and that was the link, and you're able to open it up. So those are next steps for you. Go ahead and get working with this. Go ahead, start using it. The final comments, I guess, from anyone else who's just curious is we have found great success from people that have used our product. It's obviously you wouldn't be here unless it was going to help your website and make your business more successful, make you more money, help your position if you're the person implementing product fruits. So that's what we see, and we get exclusively positive feedback from our people that start using our product. So those are your next steps. Get into a demo, get into an implementation workshop, start a trial, start building, start using. We're here in that chat if you need anything. You can always book a call with us if you need help. So to go back to and last thing, you are getting, just as a reminder, you will be getting the recording of all of this in the end. So you will see this in an email once we're finished, along with the cheat sheet. So last questions here, just to finish everything up. Aizling's original question at the beginning was, I have a question about testing checklists. Said she dropped out. How can she test a full checklist of tours without publishing them? So that gets into our actual checklist button, but the short answer is it's very similar to saving without publishing. So before, I was going through and clicking the save button for everything and then publishing everything. If you want to test it on the live website, another option is creating a segment, which we didn't go over too much today just because of limited time. But you could say, hey, just show my username, the checklist, if you want to see it on the live website. And you can segment, that's our term, segment for just your username. So you're the only user who can see it on the live website. You can test that checklist, you can test tours, and then when you're ready, you can open it to everyone. You can stop filtering, essentially it's filtering. You can stop filtering for your username and open it to everyone. That's how you would test. If you need more clarification, message our chat and I'll give you more details. Some of these are going to be more complex questions that I don't want to spend 15 minutes per question. So I'm kind of shortening some of my answers here. Can we see if the user has watched the entire tour? Yes, there is user tracking, which we should have dummy information on my end. I don't want to take too much time for anyone. But there's a lot of things you can check with tracked users in general. You have information for them themselves. These are all made up names. None of these people are real. And then you can go into detailed sections. I'm moving a lot of boxes around on my screen as I move. I'm going to close the old poll. Here you go. Tour error example finished. Once you go into the details of any one of your users, I think this was me. I think it assigned this name to me and just generated it. But once you go in, you can see hint 1 viewed error. This is, I had a tour called error. You can come in and see the date. You can see the timestamp. All of that information is available to you. Next question. Thank you. Looks good. Great. Glad I can get through that one. I'm glad it went well. That was probably, I think that was when I was saying people could leave since we had 45 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. There we go. No more questions. That is the very end. So thank you, everyone. I see we still got some people in chat. Thank you so much for everything. We really appreciate you guys and your time. If you have any other questions, send it to us in chat. That's where we always are. And go ahead and start building things. We'll give you guys direct feedback. One of our big things is we are here to communicate directly with you and help you guys out with whatever you need. So any further questions, just let us know. And everyone, enjoy the rest of your week. We will see you guys. I'm about to turn off my microphone and my face will be gone forever. See ya.